The great Indian elections begin tomorrow as Indians get ready to flaunt their index finger. News9 Plus asks, is it time to retire the ink and think digital? Joining me to talk about this is my colleague Kartik Malhotra. Kartik, tell us about the story that you've just put together.
So this was an interesting quest, in fact, that our colleagues Shreya as well as Vaji in Bangalore sort of, went ahead with. And the quest really was that this indelible ink, who makes it? Where does it come from? And that took them to the city of Mysore. And then, of course, there are great details, fascinating details in the story on how that ink is really made. But I think while working on the story, the larger question which the team came out with was that is the ink really relevant even today in the time of digitization that we live in, where your Aadhaar and your biometrics are used for everything from your Digi-Yatra travel to, any sort of identification that you want to do. The question really was that do we still need the ink when you can have facial recognition, when you can have biometrics, and when you can really have a complete digital recognition process in place, where once you voted and go into any booth, once you voted, you will not be permitted entry into any other voting booth. So by default, your face will be able to enter a polling booth just once and you cast your vote, and that's the end of it.
Exactly like the Digi-Yatra that the government has brought out in airports. But there are other, interesting points that were raised in that documentary, which is about possibly other options like, a pen, for instance, using a pen instead of this very if I may put it, clumsy way of applying ink. It looks very,
yeah, it seems fairly old world given that we are sitting in 2024. And in fact, the US already uses the pen. It doesn't use the brush, right? So these are new. I mean, it's the same technology, it's the same ink, but the form factor of that ink is changing. And in fact, the Election Commission is already examining. And, people are hopeful that by the next general elections 5 years from now, we should be in a position to use two kinds of inks. One is the same present ink minus the brush with a pen instead of a marker instead of the brush, and the other is also an invisible ink which is being worked upon. So I think all those who vote primarily to showcase on social media that they've exercised their constitutional duty of voting will not be able to do it with the invisible ink.
So you won't be able to hold up your finger
what do you show? It'll just be a plain finger with no mark on it.
Oh, who knows? It would be probably a barcode or something like that.
Oh yeah, that's quite possible. Well, let's see. I think we'll know 5 years from now whether that's going to happen or not.
That's an important thing there. And that's what the story tells you, that the fact that 2024 could literally be the last election where you would see this kind of clumsy way of applying, voter ink on the index fingers of voters. But for watching that story, you have to download the News9 Plus app and watch the story. Voter Mark, Think Beyond Ink. It's only on the News9 Plus app. Thanks for joining us.
Thanks, Sandeep.
That ink is a semi-permanent dye called the indelible ink.
We are the sole manufacturer of this indelible ink.
Don't try to repair something which is working.
And if you have facial recognition, you can go vote in any booth anywhere based on where you are, and then it will be recorded that you can't vote anywhere else again.
Can we retire indelible ink and use biometrics? Theoretically, my answer would be yes.